joined, just know that Ed actually started the call off asking for information about where you're selling in your markets. His contact information is already in the chat, and he's asking because he wants to send referrals. He's got a license, but he doesn't sell. He's been in this area for many, many years. He's in Florida right now. And so talk to him specifically about your markets, Katie. I know you're the main line. Marcus, you're somewhere in PA that I can't even pronounce, right? And he's got markets everywhere, right? He's got California, North Carolina, and now he's thinking about Spain. We still got to talk, brother. So definitely get on board with each other so you can share information. But before we go any deeper, let me get 2 or 3 people. Give me some positive focus, personal or business. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
All right, Christine, go for it.
Okay, so I woke up today. As usual, I did my planks for 3 minutes and I did my yoga. So that's my personal little win, right? But this week and next week, guys, I am taking the REO designation from Revenos. So I'm really focused on that and developing relationships with the asset managers here in Wells Fargo, Chase, and the credit unions, and hopefully win some REO listings. That's my goal right now.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Well, who else wants to share?
I'll go. Personally, yesterday was my birthday, and I used that as a reason to ask for referrals, and I ended up getting about 3 or 4 decent ones to start off with. And Christine, I wish I could piggyback off of that. I intended to start the REO classes yesterday, but they coincided with something over time, but I'm definitely hoping to be on that same path as well.
Catherine, just to let you know, you don't have to take it in order. You could take it in various stages. So there's one tomorrow, just FYI.
Awesome. That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. Give me just 1 or 2 more. Who else wants to go? Give me some positive focus.
I'll jump in real quick. Going back to the basics, what I'm doing and what I'm teaching, the 3 simple questions. Where are you? Where do you want to be? How do you plan to get there? And then the 4th one is, who can you align with that will 10x the speed on that? Back to basics, man.
Awesome. Great stuff. Tasha, you look like you were going to add something there.
Yeah, our first meeting that I joined, I think 2 weeks ago now, we had talked about click-on-alls and KV Core and kind of using the back end. We've recently set up 3 different campaigns for Marcus, actually, and we used Linktree to input those into his social media. So we're going to take a little time and see how they convert. But it was really easy to use EXP's backend with KV Core and set that up. I was actually a little bit surprised at how easy it actually was. So great system for sure.
Awesome. It sounds like I've got somebody who's going to teach that system in a couple weeks' time. Good stuff. Congratulations. And you know what? Kudos for taking action, right? Because a lot of us will go to classes and then we won't do the thing that needs to happen, which is actually take action. And I'm going to sort of just use that as an example. Like the topic that we're going to cover today is one of those that I've studied through the years, and it's absolutely one. I'm going to be vulnerable here. Have not taken action, and it's all about the mental conversation that I've had around it. And for those of you who were on last week's call, anybody remember what a precept is? Anybody?
They are the conversations that we have with ourselves, roadblocks that we kind of put in our own ways. Most of the time they are made up based on, life experiences or, like you said, growing up, if you met someone and your parents are like, oh, they're shy, you kind of just grow up believing that and kind of live in that bubble rather than take yourself outside of it.
Yeah. And so like a precept, if you guys all remember, great job, Tasha. It's something that we made up. May have been a long time ago, may have been recently, that's now true, our truth. And then we go out in the world to find evidence to support the thing that we made up in the first place. The example I made, I said, but it's like, I'm shy, and you go out in the world to act like you're shy, or I don't have the contacts to sell a lot of real estate. I don't have the knowledge. The one I was really like I'm a guy and open houses don't work for me. They only work for women, right? Again, something we just made up, an internal conversation, and we go out and act that way in the world. And so today we're going to talk about guarantees and risk reversals. And the other thing we talked about the last few sessions is oftentimes when we're learning something new, we listen from this place called I agree or I disagree. And I've asked each of you to sort of listen from a different place, that place of, is it possible, a place of possibility, and then take it on for the next 90 days. And if it works for you, awesome, man. Now you got something great for you to use for the rest of your life. If not, give it back, no harm, no foul. This is going to be one of them, right? Guarantees and risk reversals in our business. And I put already down in the chat a YouTube video because I heard it differently. And that's often what happens in sort of in our industry, right? We go to a class, we think we know the topic, right? Like, oh, I know, I've heard that already. But we hear it differently, or we're open to hearing it. We're in a position in our lives that we receive it differently. And that was absolutely the case here. So in Build 23, and Ed was there with me as well. This guy, Dan Beer, got on the stage and talked about guarantees and risk reversals. And so the YouTube video is there. And also what I put is the link for all the Build 23 resources. So all the slide decks, all the pictures, all the resources that we got for going there, you guys get it for free. So it's right there in the Dropbox there. Grab it, take it, use it. And the videos for everything that's happened at Build 23, you can go to Brent Gove and YouTube. Then watch those. I implore you to watch them because they're such gold, and get out to the events themselves, right? Because there's a lot of energy that you'll get some good information from the videos here, but the energy around being at the events itself, you can't substitute. So what's guarantees or risk reversals? What it is a way to market and get more listings. And who wants more listings, right? Who could use more listings? Yeah, we're all struggling the last few years. And then who wants to sound different than the rest of those agents out there, right? The reality is, like, I'm going to just give you the things that I've heard, but you got to watch it from Dan. Dan is so much more eloquent than it can possibly be on this topic. He lives it, he breathes it. I'll share some of the slide decks, but I'm going to read the cool feature on YouTube. You can actually go on YouTube and pull the transcript out of like the video. And so I'm just going to read the part that leads in. He starts with the mindset part of it, because remember what we talked about. None of it matters. You could be the best technician in the world, but if your head is not on straight, if it's not right in between the ears, you're not going to execute the business the way you need to execute it. So I just want to read a real quick 2-second blur, a little bit more than 2 seconds. He says, when he's talking about guarantees and risk reversals, most agents have this belief system that there will be someday in your career when the real estate gods show up and anoint you as being able or worthy of doing what's just, frankly, just some cool stuff, right? And of just getting the ability to do things at the highest level creatively. And the reality is that there's agents in the room that he's talking about that will do that in their very first year of business. There's agents in the room that'll do it in their third year, in their 10th. And then there's some that will never do it at all. And the reason why is they'll be waiting for the day when somehow, some way, someone shows up and says, now you can do all of these things you've been waiting to do. But the reality is the only person who will ever grant you that, it's you, right? And you will be the only one that gives yourself permission. And you can choose to do that now, or you can choose to do it so here at this very moment, at this moment, and or you can procrastinate till you get home, or you never wait, or you never do it, whatever this day that comes or that never does for most people, because they're waiting for it to come from the outside. And so he's encouraging you to take action, just to realize that you can do this. And he doesn't care what level that you're at, what finances look like. You just need to jump in, right? And that mental part of it is like, I'm using the term, I'm not sure everybody understands when I'm talking about guarantee or risk reversal. So an example of guarantee is, hey, we'll sell your home in 30 days, or we'll list it for free, right? Anybody ever heard that? Just an example. That's a very common one. Anyone have that internal conversation? Hey, that's not me. That's gimmicky. Raise your hands. Anybody feel that way? Yeah, right. Let me share. I'm going to share my my screen real quick. Everybody see this Dan Beer slide?
Yes.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yes.
When I switch, I can't see you guys. All right, so I'm going to go to this guy sold. I'm going to make this bigger so you guys can all see as much as possible here. Sold 450 million, 460 transactions using this system. And the components of a strong guarantee, a lot of us, we still are feeling agita around doing a guarantee for some of the reasons I already mentioned, like, it's gimmicky or like maybe we feel like we're tricking somebody else. But what I heard differently are some of the points on here is that you're taking on the perceived risk on your customer's behalf. And right there's a shift in sort of the thinking, right? It's not about me, the agent, being gimmicky or trying to pull a fast one over somebody, because I'm sure that's lots of the thoughts people have had around guarantees or risk reversals. Immediately, it's a shift, a precept around like, hey, I'm doing this for the benefit of my customer, right? Because there is a perceived risk. And that's the key word, perceived. Because it's not, some of these things that we're worried about are never as bad as we think they're going to be, right? The acronym FEAR is just false evidence appearing real, right? We think it's going to be bad. We think it's going to be scary. We think it's going to be risky. But when we actually go do the thing, it's not, right? So these guarantees allow you to lower the barriers that prevent people from doing business with you, right? They're worried about maybe making the wrong choice, paying too much money, choosing the wrong realtor, right? And so these guarantees lower the barriers that prevent people from doing business with you. And you give them a compelling reason to buy today, take action today, because most people won't take action, right? The number one negative trait in human beings, I believe, is procrastination, right? So you help them get out of their own way. You give them a compelling reason to buy today without the fear of looking bad tomorrow. That's what they're worried about. They picked the wrong agent. They paid too much for the service. They paid for the service and got bad service, right? All those things. And the key for these guarantees, and Dan was really good about expressing this. Again, he's going to do so much a better job of explaining this than I do, but I want to just tease it, get you thinking about it, get you excited about it. I want you to go watch the video that I put down in the link. They come out better than they went in no matter what happens. That's the key to having a right guarantee. They need to come out better than they went in no matter what happens. He actually talked about a guarantee that he used to say, interview me, and if you hire for a listing, interview me, and if you hire another agent to list your property, I will pay you $500. And it's based on this principle, right? That they need to be better off for having known you and having interacted with you than they were before, right? And he's just got an immense, confidence that his system, by removing this perceived risk, will be for the best benefit of the client. And by the way, I can't see you guys, so if you want to interrupt me, just holler out. I'm not going to be able to see you. Just stop me.
So, okay, time out. Question, G. So, okay, so my understanding is, if you have this level of confidence, and you have to have obviously the systems in place to back it up after you're displaying this level of confidence, right? Would you agree that you have to have like your listing presentation has to be on par? The teamwork that you're having that's coming in after you present, after they sign, has to do an excellent job, and you have to be confident that they're going to do an excellent job. So would you agree with that, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think I agree in the sense that, yes, you need to be a master of your craft, and you have to invest in yourself and be good at what you do and excel. What I don't mean by this is that, and he makes a good point of this as well, is that we're playing by other people's rules. And he really is sort of intentional around, like, hey, we can write our own rules, right? For instance, the way we list properties, the way we do open houses is the example he uses, right? We just do open houses in most cases the way that we just watched other people who've done it for years, who didn't learn it from anybody who knew any better. They just watched the person before them, and it goes on that for generations and generations. And he uses the example of, like, hey, he started an office, and the person that was there put out, 6 signs out a half an hour before the open house. And they got to that role of doing open houses. That's the way to do open houses because they watched somebody else do that before. And I think oftentimes we get into the trap of just doing it the way it's always been done. And he's adamant about like, hey, we get to write the rules. So for instance, an example of open houses, he talks about like, hey, you know, I thought 60 signs would be better than 6. I think putting out at 9 a.m. is better than putting out a half an hour before for the showing, right? That's free billboard. Like it's basically thousands of dollars it costs to run a billboard. Well, now you're getting it for free, or at the cost of time of putting the signs out. But that's where I want your brain to go on this, Darwin, is we get to write the rules. And so hold on to that thought a little bit more. We're going to get into some of this deeper. But I don't want the precepts like, hey, I don't have my systems in place right now. We got to be taking action on this. And I think you'll be fine because I know you're a good agent and you care about people and you're gonna do the right thing by them. So getting back to the topic here, guaranteed marketing is defined as when you make it free to buy from you and you tell the world about it, more people will buy. Again, you're reducing the risk. You're telling the world about it. That's the marketing component. And they will list. You'll get more listing, right? It is marketing. You're trying to attract more people to have conversations about listings. So, it's critical. He says it's critical. I believe it now too, as well, is because if your service is interchangeable with your competitors, then you become commoditized and trapped. And I can tell you, I'm having conversations with agents every single day, and it's the same thing. This business is hard. It's down. It's not the way it has been the last few years. And it's because we're in this trap. We're doing it all the same way as all our other competitors are doing it, right? And that means we are commodity. We're interchangeable with anybody else. So open your mind to the possibility here. Will this type of marketing work for me? Because it will set you apart. And you won't feel trapped. And the example you use of travel, I mean, the agents that and I know all of us have been here one point or another, or may very well still be there. We're at dinner with our loved ones, and in the middle of dinner, we're getting up to answer that phone, to answer a call, or deal with a client, or some lead off of Zillow, whatever it is, because we feel trapped if we don't answer that phone. In the meantime, the other parts of our lives that matter more, right? Our family, our loved ones are suffering because of it. If you've got a bunch of listings, then you get the choice, right? You're not trapped. So that's the place I want you guys to be listening to this. Like, will this work for me? Is it possible for me? Will it change my life and change my business in a way that allows me not to be commoditized and trapped? Now, here's an example of his guarantee. I'm going to read it out loud. Ready? Sell your home for 100% of your asking price, or we will pay you the difference plus $3,000. And if we don't sell the home within 29 days, we will pay your utility bills for the additional days on market. And if you choose to fire us for any reason, you can do so at any time and without penalty. You're never locked in. We must perform to your satisfaction. Plus, we will pay you $2,000 towards the commission of the new agent you choose for the inconvenience, and you get a room at the Del Mar Hilton for a 2-night stay as our apology. Reactions. I need to hear stuff.
Wow. It is crazy.
I love it. All right. That was Marcus, I heard. That's crazy, right? Who else?
It's bold. And this is the second or third time I'm looking at this. One thing I know, it's got my attention. Yeah. I'm like leaning in, looking at it going, I need to know more about this.
All right. I mean, if I was a consumer, this is a no-brainer for me. I would hire this guy over any other agent that I'm interviewing.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would offer this. Sorry, it says my name is Jerome Wentz on here. I'm using my boyfriend's computer.
No worries. I know
but yeah, I mean, that's a little insane, right? Like I've seen people put in their listing contract like an early termination fee of like $795 or whatever, but that's really bold.
Man, I love it.
You've got to really believe in yourself. if that's what you're offering.
I love it. And so that's the point of, and so I stopped this share because I need to physically show you what he does on stage. You can watch the video. But the reality is, again, it starts with, we get to write the rules, right? How does he protect himself? Let me stop back. The feeling that you're having, that's exactly the point, right? That's the point. Because the feeling of agita and tense that you're having, the seller is having the opposite of that. They're in, they're ready to go, right? Because their risk is like here, right? And now with your terms and conditions that you're going to write around these things, the risk is really going to be around it. Actually, sorry, the way he says that, here's the perceived risk. Here's the actual risk. And when you put in your terms and conditions, this is the real risk, is down here, right? So what you're creating is this tremendous view of value to the consumer, right? And that's the feel. That's the whole point of this. And that's where I finally heard it differently for the first time, because I know people are fearful out there, right? It's that fear, false evidence appearing real, and they're mistrusting the process, right? What are their precepts around us? They just want the listing. They don't care about me as a person. They just want to sell the house, get their commission, right? That's their perception, their precept about agents. So we got to remove the risk out of this for them, right? And if you're doing 10 listings a year and could put this system in place and do 450 listings a year, I guarantee you the money works out, right? He actually goes through some examples, like if somebody could, like for instance, the utility one, right? If it costs you $200 to buy a listing in this market, would you do it? Everybody would do it, right? If you could pay $200 to buy 10 listings, would you do it? Absolutely. That's the way you got to reverse your brain around, right? It's your investment, your marketing dollars in order to get listings.
Yeah, and Guillermo, like we as agents, we still are going to be the ones guiding them on price, right? And we're still going to come to terms on what that marketing strategy is.
Yeah.
If we're really dealing with a client that wants to list it for 500,000, right? And the comps for 300,000, we just choose not to take that business, but we still, right, based off the marketing, the guarantee, and the risk reversal, are getting into the door to show that value to those clients, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Like the terms and conditions again. So like, here's the perceived risk, right? Here's the real risk. And when you put in your terms and conditions, here's the actual risk, right? And so for instance, he talks about in that first one, right? We'll sell it for you or pay you the difference. So we write the rules. We get to decide who we work with, right? Like we get to decide whether we want to list that $500,000 property for $1 million. Right? Like, which a lot of us do, right? So we get to decide that, what the rule is. The other thing is somebody who elects to do that, maybe you charge them a premium, a rate premium, right? Rather than just charge 3.5%, or excuse me, 6%. That you elect this, now it's a 7% premium to elect that term, right? That no risk piece of it. The other part of it, he talks about terms and conditions. We'll pay you. Let me pull it up because I'm now forgetting exactly the language, and I don't want to misquote it. Oop. Sell your home for 100% of your asking price, or we will pay you the difference up to the amount of commission earned. Right? Again, that's a term and condition that we can control our risk. Right? And so let's say you do have a situation where you don't sell it for that price and you have to pay out of the earned condition $8,000, but you got 30 more listings out of this program. Would you pay $8,000 for 30 more listings? The answer is yes, guys. Like I know, like with our average price point of commission in our market, you absolutely should go take a loan on it if you don't have the money, right? That's absolutely the same thing. Again, and then the second part, if we don't sell the house within 29 days, we'll pay your utility bills. You know our days on the market. If you price it the right way, you should sell it in 29 days. You get that, right? And if you choose to fire us for any no reason without any penalty, that's cool, man. Never locked in. We actually did use that. We have that one for many, many years. Make sense? So he talked about the guarantee phobia. The feeling you had when you first heard that and thought about it is exactly the point. Because your consumers will absolutely be feeling the opposite of that. And so remember, you write the rules. Here are examples of guarantees that don't work, right? All work 100% guaranteed. Like, I don't even know what that means. And he says that too. Like, I don't know what that means. We'll continue working until you are completely satisfied. He actually like, man, that's the anti-guarantee. Like, you're not doing work and you're forcing me to continue to work with you, right? These are not good guarantees. They need to be bold. Again, our service is guaranteed. Then he shows examples of his marketing. You notice that his theme is very consistent. He's got the yellow, the blue, just making sure your marketing is consistent throughout what you do. But you have to have this guarantee out everywhere, right?
Yeah, Guillermo, you see the asterisk there for the price you want, asterisk, right? On the marketing.
Yeah, where show me, Marcus, I missed that.
Go right back down to where you were.
Yeah, well, I see right here, terms and conditions apply.
It's a little bit there. Guarantee below the price you want, asterisk, right? So that's.
Yeah, I mean, again, the point is not, that whole big, paragraph that I shared with you guys is not on the billboard, right? It's not on the bus rider. It's not on the social media, but it's here, guaranteed offer on your home, right? Your home sold guaranteed at 100% within 29 days, and we'll pay you the difference, right? Terms and conditions apply. Like, this is, again, if we're working on, we get to choose who we work with. We know what the skill is. We know how to price things. We know what our days in the market are, right? So all this stuff is not going to show up on here. That's the conversation that you get into when you're in front of the client. Now, this one I thought was really interesting. And I think, it's funny, he's got a little disclaimer, because for illustration purposes, we can't, collusion, antitrust, we can't talk about like, hey, these are the rates that we're telling you. But I will talk generally about what it could look like or what it could be, right? But this is not, again, no recommendation that this is actually what you do. But he used an example of, when he speaks to a seller, that there's flexible commissions. And he goes through it, right? And so, commission number one, option number one is 0%, right? 0%. And that's the situation, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, where you find the buyer, maybe it's your friend's SOI, whatever it is, and you ask us to step out of the way, and you go and do all the paperwork and closing, inspections, and all the stuff from contract to close. That's 0%, right? Then next one is 2%. 2% is same scenario as number one. You find the buyer, but you want us to stay engaged and do all the stuff that needs to be done. And he lays it on, all the thick about all the stuff that we do, which we do, right? But he actually talks about it. Put it on the contract, do the paperwork, UNO, get to inspections, title, closings, all that stuff. And for that, we'll charge 2%. Then 5% is where we find the buyer. And again, we do all that stuff, contract to close and et cetera, get to closing. And then 6% is where we don't bring the buyer, but another agent that we cooperate out in the market brings the buyer. So those are your choices, 0, 2, 5, and 6. And how powerful is that, right? And he says, like, you can play with this any other way, whatever commission, 7%, 8%, 2, 3, but never change 0. Okay. Never change 0. I need to see you guys' faces, because that's what they're worried around. Again, the risk, the perceived risk. How often is it that they find a buyer on their own? Right? It's maybe happened. I've been in this business more than a decade. Once, twice, 3 times. Right? And in those cases, most of those cases, they still ask me to do the paperwork. So you're not going to get the 0%. You're going to get the 2% at a very minimum, right? So it's this perceived risk that we have that prevents us from like executing this kind of stuff, right? And by the way, how many of us just get tired of arguing like, oh, 6% versus 5%. We've now laid it out. Like you get 0, you get 2, we get 5, and we get 6, right? And the 6%, he says, by the way, you'll never pay 6% unless it makes sense for you financially speaking over an option, over like somebody else who brings in a buyer at 5%, right? So the price differential is going to have to make sense for you to choose to pay 6%. We net better. Again, we're making the rules, right? We're having the conversation. I guarantee you start implementing this, even if you don't do the front part and you just do the commission part, you'll fight less about 6% in your commission, right? Because they'll feel like, holy crap, there's a way I can get out of this if the service is not good. Cool. What are you hearing before I go on? I think I'm actually near the end, but talk to me. Thoughts, concerns.
Gee, I read a book, $100 million offers. It could be $100 million guarantees, but the subtitle is How to Make Offers So Good People Feel Stupid Saying No. And I looked at this and I thought, the reason why I bought this book is because I felt stupid if I didn't buy it, because the subtitle says how to make offers so good people feel stupid saying no.
Yeah.
But it's $100 million offers if anybody wants to, hop into it. It's good, man. It's a good book. Definitely gets us thinking differently.
He's got another book coming up, $100 million leads.
Yeah.
I heard it's going to be really good. So, and I think it's free too. So I think it'd be great for marketing purposes, like learning about marketing. Alex Hormozy, great guy.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Great stuff,
Gee,
man.
I took it was called Blueprint to 250 GCI yesterday. And they mentioned Dan Beer a lot in that. And I think I forget what number of times that he offered it. And I think like maybe hundreds of times. And I think only had to utilize it maybe twice.
I didn't catch the last part. Say it again.
So they were talking about the offer that Dan Beer would say or anything, and of the hundreds of times that it was offered, that he had only actually used or had to pay maybe I think like twice or something like that.
Yeah, and again, he protects himself up to the commission received, right? And he did 450 sales this past year. So over the life, if like he's paid out once or twice and got paid 0 on one commission, think of it as your marketing dollars, right? You pay $10,000 to get 450 listings. Yeah, man, sign me up. Again, if you don't have it, go get a loan on it. That's again, creating the conversation internally that will empower you, right? And get you towards your goals rather than take you away from your goals.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
And listen, I'm there with you, man. I've looked at these things for years and like, nah, not me. But I heard it differently this time, right? It's really just thinking about it from the consumer's perspective and really putting yourself in the feet of the consumer and being like, yeah, they're worried about this, right? They're worried that they had a bad experience with a realtor and they want to be able to get out. That should be an easy one, man. You don't want to be in business with somebody who's unhappy with you, right? So fine, you should all have like an easy cancellation, get out of jail free in your listing contract and your buyer agency contracts, for sure. Cool. Let me show you the last few slides, and then we can just again have a conversation and mastermind around it. By the way, this is the link that I sent you guys in the chat. It has all the stuff, resources from Bill 23, all the videos, all the slide deck. So please take advantage of look at that. Here he goes into how to create your own unique guarantee. Again, the point is to sound different than other people in the market. So not the thing for us to all grab this one and do the same thing in our market. The entire purpose of this is to give your client a sense of control and become the hero in their own story. So step number one, what keeps your clients up at night? Who's the villain in their story, right? You want to think about that. That's step number one. Step number two, where is there more perceived risk than true risk? Make a compelling offer, but protect yourself with the terms and conditions, right? The other example I use, like, hey, just interview me. And if you choose somebody else, I'll pay you $500. I'd love to know how many times you've actually done that, because when you come in with like a guarantee like this, and they're just coming in like everybody else, the other 5 or 6 agents are just talking about, yeah, I got pretty colors on my marketing material, and here's my list. But like, this will blow them away. I got to believe it's less than 1% than he's actually paid out that $500.
Yeah, Guillermo, to that point, I mean, I would pay $500 for a listing appointment, as long as it's a legitimate shot to a real seller that's going to be hitting the market and they're going to be hiring someone. I would absolutely pay $500 to go sit with them and show value and win the listing.
For sure, man. Because sometimes being the second realtor is sometimes better than the first, right? So like, so many layers of this to like peel back. And absolutely, man, like we've paid it. We just you don't think that we paid it in referral fees to Zillow, that Zillow Flex program, and we're paying it. We're just paying it in a different way. This is a lot cheaper if you think about it, right? Step number 3, take on their perceived burden or struggle on their behalf, so they aren't left carrying all the risk on their own. And that's step number 4, leave them better than how they showed up. If they spend time with you, they win no matter what. So that's the formula for creating your own guarantees. Again, this slide deck is in the link I left you below. Below 4 keys: be specific, be bold, make it count, be consistent, especially on the market. You got to get it everywhere, right? A comprehensive marketing plan. And then here's the thing I wanted to leave you with. This right here. Jot it down, marketinginnercircle.com. There is a mastermind group where he goes through at a very deep level just all the different types of things that people are putting together, guarantees they're putting together, terms and conditions. We just scratch the surface of what the terms and conditions could look like. So like this group here, join in on that, and you'll get more of the detail.